Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to an amazing and epic episode of Positive Traction with Coach Henry, your host. That's me. And today, hence the hat, hence the mood, hence the energy, the vibes are high. The one and only Kimberly is here. Now, listen, I'm excited to bring you. There's so many things to introduce you with, right? Business owner, entrepreneur, mom, wife, a vast array of accomplishments. And we're going to get into the good stuff, challenges, obstacles. But Kimberly, without further ado, can you please share with this amazing and beautiful audience, who are you?
Oh, wow. That's a great big question. But,
Yes.
I'm just a girl trying my hardest. That's
Ooh,
what I am.
I like it.
I'm just like the rest of you fine folks. I'm trying to do my best, figure it out, roll up our sleeves, and have the highest impact. But most recently, what I have kind of been leaning into is podcasting.
Yes.
I've launched Iconic Nation Media because it is my passion. And
Absolutely.
I believe that it is the avenue in which I can make the most impact and highest and best use of not only my skills, but just real purpose in my life. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, part of the thing as we jump into it, and again, who you are is a great question. Let me tell you who I see you because it's going to lead us to more. Is, by the way, everybody, Iconic Nation Media is who we are part of her beautiful network. So when you see us or hear us, it's in large part to you. So thank you for having a great network. That being said, Kimberly, I want to get into it today with you because I feel that what I resonate with you on, and I think many will, is a couple different areas. Number one, what was it like when you were in the corporate world? Because I think it sets a standard to where it is, right? Because people have heard, I've had this, I jumped ship and all that. But when you're making really good money, you have clout and you have a lot of things. Take us there. And then what made you want to make a transition? And take us through that a little bit. Let's just get right into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So like everybody else, we all have our journey. We all have to start somewhere. For me, one of the big leaps for me was putting myself through business school at USC.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say putting myself through school, I mean me personally financing it,
Okay.
which was very scary. I like to tell this part of my story because it's probably the first time I took the biggest risk on myself.
Yeah.
And it was a huge risk financially. It was about $160,000 at 8% during the financial crisis.
Yeah.
And the reality is that's a huge financial burden to take on as a very young 20-something-year-old.
And I want to stop you there just for 1 second, only because, look, I think today's age, and this is why I want to go back and forth a little bit with you, Kimberly, and this is why I love the in-persons, right? This is my motivate. You know this. But let's just talk about, you said $160,000 from one of the best business schools in the country, okay? At 8%, you're starting off life in debt, let's just say, right? With not only a pressure of going out and making this work, paying this back. And I highlight that because of your journey, because people these days, they get in debt for 30, 40 grand for the right reasons. And instead of saying, hey, it's an investment or betting on themselves, they start stressing out. And I want you to share that for a moment, because I think people, especially in this generation right now, I don't see people sacrificing the way we used to sacrifice. So can you share about your feelings on that?
And you got right to the heart of it, is that, look, the reality is I was not raised with wealthy parents. I had a ton of love, and I had what I would consider the perfect childhood. No frills, no vacations, not a lot of material things. But what gave me was grit and self-confidence. And
Yeah.
the reason why I was okay investing that kind of money on myself is because I believed in myself and I bet on myself.
Yeah.
And my upbringing kind of fostered that level of self-confidence. And I will say that pressure is what makes you rise. When you have a sink or swim kind of a situation, there is no fallback plan, and you have to make it work.
Amen. And Kim, let me tell you, this year alone, my business partner, we're going through some things, and and on my heart, I kept saying, you know what? There is no plan B. There's no plan B. There is no retreat. The old example that when you're speaking, it reminds me of when you cut the anchor, the rope to the ship, and it's going to sail. I'm not ready. You're ready. Whether you're ready or not ready, you're ready. It's out to sea, right? And that's hearing you speak, and I love that you decided to start with that, because I just think, especially male or female, this generation and upcoming need to hear this, that look, bet on yourself. Bet on yourself. So let's now kind of fast track that through a little bit. Now you're leaving school. How is that part of your life?
So what happened was I actually had an offer at one of the big studios, and I looked at the dollars and cents and thought, I can't afford to take this job.
Wow.
I won't be able to pay off my loans, let
Wow.
alone, feed myself.
Wow.
So that forced me to really lean in and get the highest paying job and one that I could maximize the opportunity. And I remember saying to myself, this is not the time to fall asleep at the wheel. I have to take control and take the biggest, baddest leap I can from this opportunity.
Wow.
And that's what I did. And I got one of the highest paying jobs, one of the most prestigious jobs with a management consulting firm out of business school. And it changed my life.
Wow.
And
But see, there again, you did it though. You could have settled. And again, remember, there's a difference of being pride. I mean, there's all the feelings you're probably going through. And I'm sure people were telling you, no, dude, do that. Take that job. You're fresh out of college, right? All these things, but something in you said, no. And I love that you said this, because this is not giving everybody enough credit, especially women, because it is a little harder sometimes because you have to fight through different barriers, right? You said the numbers don't make sense, right? And I love that you said that. See, I'm listening to you because, again, you could have just taken it, figured it out later, but something you said, no, I'm gonna wait, and it paid off for you. So now you're there. Fast track a little bit through that. But before that, can you share, I think this is important, did you have support from peers, family, or friends that you felt helped you believe in yourself? Or was this just a lot of you having to find the right people to fit that narrative?
great question. It all came from my parents. My parents worked on me and my self-confidence from a very young age. And I also will say, when you work hard and you keep promises to yourself, that is what will build self-confidence. When you bet on yourself and consistently show up for yourself, whether that is a promise to eat cleaner, to wake up earlier.
Yep.
I'm talking the micro details of your life. Those promises are what build your own just ability to say, I got this.
Yeah, I love that.
Right?
Have you ever heard the general speak about making your bed? It's great. I'll have to send it to you. And it's great. I always talk to my family about it. And I share it with Munchkin, who's the youngest in our family, try to influence her a little bit while she's a teen, right? But making the bed, I go look at it. He talks beautifully about it's the win in the morning. You're winning. You accomplish something. It's that small detail. It sets, right? Because if you're in a rush, usually your day, unless you're really good, is going to continue being a rush. At some point, you have to take the hit and restructure it. And I love how you said it's the micro details of those things that all add up to a greater. So now you have good support, which I love to hear. You believe in yourself. So now take us now into a further part of the journey where now you're going, okay, how's that life now work in phase 2 of your life, let's say?
Well, I was so happy to take this job because why? I didn't want to sit in an office.
Yeah.
And I think that authentic knowing of yourself is so key. You have to be energized about what you're doing. So I was taken on this incredible journey of being with Fortune 500 CEOs in boardrooms all over the country.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was intimidating at first. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I was one of the youngest people at my firm to negotiate and help lock in a $20 million deal. And I remember I was one of 20 of our staff that was invited, and I was the youngest one there.
Wow. How awesome is that?
And look, it's all about you finding something that is so exciting that you don't mind working 100 hours, because that is exactly what I was doing.
I love it. And I love what you're saying that, because again, you hit some great points, Kimberly. You really are. I'm so glad that we waited for our in-person. See, timing is everything, right? I love it, because you're saying the timing, you're believing in yourself. You're also, you started by saying grit. See, you know, even I had a call on my way here with my daughter, and I said, you know, you can't appreciate the beautiful sunrise unless you've seen darkness in life. You really can't grasp it, right? And the key, in my opinion, to that is not needing the darkness to keep you appreciating the greatness. See, most people always wait. And I believe that let's go from good to greater. Let's go from greater to greatest in a good way. Humble but hungry. Humble but hungry. So now let's take that hunger, bring us now to this stage and age, but also as you're talking, I'm going to speak of the balance because you're a mom now, been for a little bit, you're a wife, and that also is a different season than just being fresh out of business school, right? So tell us that transition when you had to now share your time, because I think there's people that can relate to that work balance.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that adds a whole other layer that I never expected or anticipated. And I have 3 kids, 8, 7, and 2.
Woo-hoo.
Yes. Yes, we're in it. And,
I love it.
There's something really interesting, though, about having a time box in your day. Because when you no longer have the, I'll say, luxury to work 100 hours a week like I was, because, again, I was lovesick over my job.
Right.
So I was thrilled to work 20-hour days. I mean, it was a pleasure.
Yeah.
And, motherhood changes that. There's no question. And look, my husband runs multiple businesses as well. So we had to bring in help. It's very humbling to say I'm, type A and I love to do things myself, and to say I need help.
Yeah. But let's talk about that for a moment, because look there's a lot of boss women. Let's talk about boss women for a second. That at what point is it ego, pride, negligence, ignorance, scared, all those things? And at what point is like, you know what? I need this so I can be better. I am blessed to have the support, and it's a mind thing. It is, and I imagine at what point do you feel all the things? So can you take us there, because it's not that easy. Somebody might say, "Oh, get a nanny. We can afford it," but you're like, "Oh, but I don't want to." Like, so tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's super hard. It's really hard. And honestly, every single person's and family's situation is different. Some of it goes back to dollars and cents.
Yeah.
Can you afford a nanny? Does it make sense for you to step out of your home? Is your income and passion for what you're doing, does that outweigh, this ability to stay home and be with your kids? So it's really quite tricky. And so every single person is different. And there's no shame either way. I have actually had the pleasure, and I'm so grateful for this, where I've had the live-in nanny, I've had the part-time nanny, I've had the stay-at-home fully experience, I've had the work from home remotely. So I've actually tried all of it on.
I love that. I love people to hear that, Kimberly, because, and I love how you said it. You're so politically good. You're just like, no, I'm just saying that in a beautiful way. Like, you're saying it in a way where you're being real, but you're not targeting one area. Like, this is the way I did it. I love that. And I'm so happy. And I want people to hear this message, because to me, you said it, it's where you're at. And I always call life seasons, right? Because I know right now we're going to end where the season you're in, which is fire. So we're going to save that to the end. But right now, during that time, like you said, you had a chance to work from home. You had a chance to be there. And again, now you have 8, 7, 8, and 2. So there's a 5-year gap in that last range. So the 2-year-old, you're able to kind of like, okay, this is the season I'm in that balance. And I think it's good for people. So now I'm going to go a left turn. And the left turn is your marriage, right? Your husband's type A as well, out there making things happen, shaking boots. Both you are. So how is that? Because I wanted for this episode, knowing you're both type A's, how that works, because typically a lot of A's like a B, right? Or vice versa, because but you're both A's. So how do you find that balance? Let's share that.
Yeah. Well, I would say there's a couple things. Number one, my husband truly is supportive of anything that I want to do.
So that alone, let me tell you, I am grateful, because I'm going to speak from my daughter and her husband. I love seeing that. They're, because I'm a huge believer, you got to be your own board of directors. It has to start at home. And I don't know why people don't understand that. If you don't collide, salt and pepper are opposite, but they're beautifully together, right? That's why they're on the tables all over the world together. And I say that because then I see my son and his wife, and they meet and they put in. And then when people's marriages, relations fall apart, well, why? You're not starting at home. So I love that you said that he is supportive, because it's really simple. You support the queen supports the king, right?
Yes.
It's pretty simple.
1000%. And you kind of led into the next key point, which is the communication. The communication, look, if you're wishing and hoping your spouse is a certain way and you don't tell them, you're going to sit there and you're going to be really resentful and they're not going to even know it. And I don't think that's fair.
Yeah.
So from the get-go, Brian has always been an amazing communicator.
Love it. Love it.
That is probably the underpinning, aside from trust and respect and all of those things, that communication piece. And it's the honest, raw communication.
Yes.
It's the,
yes.
I'm doing this and I'm starting to get resentful or feel like I'm missing out on this. Something has to give. Sometimes the raw, real communication is ugly, and it's ugly truths.
I love it.
Your emotions.
I love it. That, Kimberly, you're dropping the truth. And that's the thing that, again, all generations are missing. The number one thing when I hire someone or I work with, I need two things out of you: honesty and communication. I don't have time to read your mind or your emotions or your feelings. You know, I'm having a bad day, Henry. Can I have a moment? That's it. And guess what? I go from being upset to having empathy or this, and vice versa. And vice versa. Even here, you know, we were doing with the team. I go, hey guys, we all might be a little bit late traffic. So I wanted to think ahead and ease, like we're all good. And we all made it on time. But, you know, because sometimes communication is so important because, oh no, Kimberly should know that. Henry should know that. Well, how about let's take the should out and just, especially when it comes to a marriage. So that's point 2. So I took point 1, he supports, which makes you want to support him even more. It's a beautiful thing. Communication and raw truth. And what is the third point that you would say helps you guys bring out the best in each other?
I think just the willingness to move with changes and make changes. So when you have kids, there's different ages and stages.
Yeah.
And this doesn't really stop through adulthood.
No.
So we're all constantly changing. Our needs change, our wishes change. So one season I might need to be home nursing my baby. Another season, I might have all 3 kids in school.
Yeah.
So we are constantly reevaluating our needs and we adapt.
Yep.
And that's important.
I love that. And so those are the 3 takeaways on that before we get to the next stage. I love that. So communicate, support each other, raw truth with love, I always say, right? Which is key. So the person can receive it, right? And also adjusting. Right. I love that. So that's some great stuff, Kimberly. I love it. Seriously. All right. So now a lot of great points, and I know people are going to get a lot from this. Let's kind of move into this season of life. So why don't you paint the picture of the season that your husband and you guys are in as a family, but then that'll set a precedence to now your passion project. Share with us that, please.
Yes. So I was able to figure out that I have to just reprioritize, because at first I thought, well, if I could just get help, with the kids, I can continue on my life as is. Well, we all know that having kids completely reshapes everything in the best way, in the best way.
Of course.
So yet again, we're in a different season where all 3 of our kids are off to school, and I had been running a company locally. So I had left my management consulting company simply because the logistics didn't serve our marriage and our family anymore.
Yeah.
And that really broke my heart.
Yeah.
Because I loved that job and I was thriving in that job.
Yeah. And that's a hard, let's just thought, again, you were thriving. You loved it. I mean, the top key, and made good money. So thriving, good money, and you love it. And now you guys are like, but I think the season's over. Like, wow. So I just want to go there for a second, because I feel that's encouraging for those that are going, look, you gave up really good money, thriving at it, you love it. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. But you knew something else had to give. It just wasn't fitting anymore. So that took a lot of courage, a lot of faith, because, no matter what, I don't care how successful financially you are, you're taking a hit, in that transition. So can you just share a little bit about that? Because I think that's going to resonate with people.
Absolutely. I mean, I'll be very transparent about it. I was almost in what I would consider like a borderline kind of depression over leaving that position. And you can imagine the resentment that also harbored, which wasn't really directed at any one person, because it's like, well, I wanted a family, you know what I mean? And so it was tough. And what was so great about that season was I was able to be thoughtful. So one thing that I will do, and I'll tell people this, if you are not sure about your next move, Or this can be even tactical advice. Like if you're not sure about a business deal, do nothing. Do nothing. Sit with the thoughts and think through and just try on, well, what would it be like if I accepted this next job? Or, this in the silence is where you find answers.
Yes, I firmly believe that. And I think, look, I'm going to tap into what you shared because I think that the season I'm in my life, I've been through a lot in my life. So rather than sit there and talk about me, it's like, let's put it into action. Hence the show, hence everything we're talking about. Because I always tell people, not everyone wants to just read a book. They want to see the movie, right? They want to see it in action, right? And that's where I feel my calling is. I might write a couple more books and share some things, but let's get in it, right? I'm that guy. And I love what you shared because you're being real, that these are tough. Life is tough. But the biggest thing I share with people on that, Kimberly, is, well, what are you going to do about it? And then what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do about it? And what are you going to do with it? And the with it part is more than us, right? I can sit and go tell you all my war stories, and I used to be through that. I've been through that. Oh, that's great. Well, how's that going to help me? But if I say that, I'm going to use that pain, those obstacles, and do good with it. Now I'm blessed to have the next generation watching it, being a part of it, tweaking it. So I love what you shared on that part. So now, what is this stage for you? What is this new company, Iconic Nation? What is your vision for it? And what is something that is now saying to you, okay, all right, I'm going to put it all into this, and there is no plan B, because I think that's where you're going with it. Am I right?
Absolutely. Yeah. In those quiet moments, I found a passion in podcasting. In between the company that I launched and my prior company, I was the co-CEO of a large company, and it was a great reminder of my passion, that I want to be spending my time in my passion, and money will follow.
100%. I love that, Kimberly. I love that. And that is, I think, one of the main reasons that you and I get along so well, because look, we're both fortunate to be okay. We're good, right? But it doesn't stop there. And you might have had that season, just like I might have. But this season is about a new hustle, right? It's about a new grind, a new grit. But rather than being broke, been there, rather than that grind or grit only being driven from no choice, you have choices. You can be playing tennis every day if you want to, or pickleball, whatever it is. And you'll have your fun and you'll do some of that. But you feel that your calling and your passion is creating sets like this, something where people can, you're giving me a voice because of you're putting ours on your network. And I love that. So what does that kind of look? What is 2 or 3 things that you can share with somebody in the beginning stage of entrepreneurship that you, as a solid businesswoman, saying, hey, if I could do it, you can do it. What can you share to that? Because I know that we have a little bit more time left. But I knew time would fly with you, so we'll have to do a part 2, no doubt.
No problem.
But what do you think would be a couple tips that you can give someone?
Look, my mom just passed away.
Yes, I'm sorry.
And thank you. And I know your dad passed as well. And I'd like to give a nod to both of them because
Yes, thank you.
they shaped who we are.
Yes.
And I'm sharing that because it was one of the most important events of my life.
Yeah.
And it gave me so much purpose and clarity. And what I want to leave people with that I got is it really does end. And I don't want that to sound morbid. I want you to use that as true inspiration.
Yes. Yes.
And what I got from it is, look, I also had just turned 40 in July. And I decided the first 40 years of my life have been dedicated to building myself, to really pouring into me.
Yeah.
And showing myself what I'm capable of. And you can't miss that step.
No, you're saying some powerful things, Kimberly.
And the second half of my life, what came from this experience is I got very clear. The second half of my life is all about giving it away to the world. How can I make the biggest, baddest impact on as many humans as possible?
Yeah.
And that's where my company comes in, which is all about how can I, it's kind of 2-layered. Number one, how can I give people their dream? I can't tell you how many people I encounter on a daily basis that are dreaming of launching their brand, their voice, their impact.
Yeah.
So that's the first level is I want to make other people's dreams come true.
I love that.
Because I know that they have some unique gift to give away to the world. And I want to see that through and I want to help them get there as efficiently as possible. That's one.
I love that. And go back to your mom. And I love that not only did she make such a great impact on you when she was alive and you shared of all your years and without hesitation. I love that. That even as she passed away and lived a good life, that she still is making such a beautiful impact on you. But you said some powerful things. You had clarity and purpose. And that's fire. Now take all your grit, all your education, all the things that I believe that the world's about to see what Kimberly was really brought on this earth to do, right? Of course, being a mom, being a wife, very top. But right next to that, underneath that, if you will, is how you can take someone that has a dream and you're like, oh, I can help you with that. I have a thing. I'm on a budget. We can work with that. All these beautiful things that you're capable of doing to bridge that for people is powerful. And I'm excited for our team to be a part of that as much as possible. Truly excited.
And you took a chance on me, and I will continue to see that bet through. And the second layer of this is once I have the podcast hosts launched, I know that there is a much bigger impact that they are personally making, potentially on millions of people. So it's getting them to the point where I am helping them be positioned to give away their gift and help them make the most impact they possibly can.
I love it.
My vision for the company is to build it and sell it at least $100 million because why not? I'm not financially driven, but to me, the money, and this is really important, the money is nothing more than a validation of impact. It's almost like a vanity metric that says, I have this amount of money because of the impact I made.
I love that.
I don't care about the bigger car, the bigger house, the better, that is so unimportant.
It reminds me when you said that, kind of like being an actress that you just love acting and you got an Academy Award at the end, which right? Like you just felt like, you know what? It was just nice to have your peers, right? So
That's it.
I love that. Well, Kimberly, look, we have a couple minutes left and wow. Okay, I knew this was going to be fire, but way to kick off this. Seriously, you brought it. I love hearing you. But this is also an open forum for you and I because of all the things that our chemistries and we knew. So thank you. But you get one quick shot on asking me anything. I've always ended every show with anything you'd like to ask me because you've been so gracious. By the way, everybody, the guests never know what I'm going to talk about, what I'm going to say. And I love that guests, they're like family, are able to come in with trust and just let it roll. And you get what we just got, which is raw and organic and real and substance. I know people are going to take from that. So in the last few minutes, what is something that you'd like to throw this way that I can share? And then we will make people tune into our next episode.
Well, first of all, thank you again for having me on your show.
Thank
you. Congratulations on all of your success.
Thank you.
I'm super supportive of everything and believe so much in your vision.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
All of your visions.
Thank you.
There's something really special about you. And I don't know if people watching truly understand how magnetic you are. There's something about you energetically that is just so beautiful. And
thank you.
I guess, how do you dial in your energy? How can other people take the spirit of you and apply it to themselves in terms of just bringing goodness and spreading joy? How do you have such good energy all the time? Because that is something that truly makes such a big impact and is so important.
Well, thank you. I really mean that. Thank you. I'll say it quick. I believe it all started the day I got a phone call that my wife at the time was being shipped to UCLA Medical Center because they'd been in a car accident with my daughter. So I remember it was a bad season in my life business-wise, really bad for me. I wasn't taking phone calls, I was hiding. And I remember my assistant at the time, her name was Rusty, and she goes, no, it's the ambulance, the hospital, somebody, you need to take this call. And everything was just put in perspective, right? My daughter, thank God for the grace of God, when you see the car was totaled, my wife at the time, my ex-wife, she got T-bone. It was horrible. She was in intensive care for like 3 days. But my daughter was unharmed, like literally unharmed. She was, I think, 2 years old. But I remember in that moment, through the midst of all that I had to do a bankruptcy after that. But I remember that just snapped me out that what do I care about everything else? We always wait till something bad happens in life. So I think no one's ever asked me that question like that. So thank you. And I just feel like that just put things in perspective for me. And the secret for me is I kept that. See, people go through bad things and they forget it the next day. They forget it. They go to church, they hear be good to your neighbors, they go in the parking lot and they're already cussing somebody out. I don't forget it. But I don't let it hold me in fear. I fuel it. I fuel it. So no, we're going to be late. Hey guys, we might be a little bit late. Call it a day. That's it. What I can do better, plan it, whatever. You see, so I do a diffuse, solve, and prevent. That's what I do. But in the moment, nothing will shape me more than life. Like you said, you went through your mom. I went through my dad. My best friend's husband died this year unexpectedly, through cancer. It's been a hard year. And any of those 4 or 5 major things could have kept me down. But instead, I said, you know what, God, I have a chance to do something for this world. You've given me a good place to be. So let me go make an impact. So thank you for that question. So,
Wow.
well, guys, on that note, I have to wrap it up. But definitely, wow.
That took my breath away. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for asking me something that I've never answered, let alone live or on camera. Guys, Kimberly is amazing. We have some other things in the works that will leave suspenseful. I cannot wait for round 2 with her and more. I think we have a lot to share. And thank you, Kimberly, truly, for all your support. And I love moving and shaking with you, growing with you, and vice versa. So, guys, thank you for joining in to another episode of Positive Traction. Today, a special shout out to their deli, because if you're ever in the Calabasas, California, it is amazing. Do not go somewhat hungry. Go hungry, because their portions are huge. So with that being said, thank you, Kimberly. Until next time, guys, God bless.